Hi, Brett.
Jean, how are you?
I'm doing great. So, look at my fancy backdrop.
I love your backdrop. It's better than my backdrop.
Yep. So, hello, everyone. It's so good to be with you today. I'm Jean Creech with Arkose Labs, and joining me on this live simulcast is our Chief Criminal Officer, Brett Johnson. So, it's always a pleasure to get to hear from Brett.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be here, Jean. I'm currently in Detroit speaking for AARP tomorrow, and I just could not wait to come in today and talk about the different types of multi-factor authentication and how criminals are getting past that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really important topic, right? So how companies can overcome the gaps in MFA. And I think it's really important for everybody to understand what some of those attacks are, and that fraudsters, when a hurdle's put up in front of them, they're going to figure a way to work around it. And we're seeing that with MFA. And it is a very important part of a layered security, process, but it does not get a lot of adoption. And but fraudsters, if fraudsters run into it, they definitely want to get around it. So one of the things we wanted to talk about today is about OTP bot scams. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So oddly enough, Telegram, I've mentioned Telegram a few times, and Telegram is still the place where criminals go to get OTP bots, one-time password bots, and they're very user-friendly. And what happens is a criminal buys one of these bots, he has a target, an individual that he wants to trick into giving him the OTP, the one-time password or the PIN, whatever that may be. So he'll actually trigger. It's very user-friendly. The criminal it can act like it's a financial institution, a fintech, whatever company wants it to act like. It sends a text message to the victim. The victim thinks that it is the organization, the bank, say, and the one-time password is triggered at that point. At that point, the victim actually gives the one-time password to the criminal. It's a very automated attack. Bot sits there and does it automatically for the criminal all day long, and it sends these passwords to the criminal so that the criminal can then go in, log in, take over the account, do whatever they need to do. It's very easy to do, very cheap to do, and it's eating financial institutions, cryptocurrency exchanges, fintechs absolutely alive right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said they could just the cyber criminal could just go out to the dark web and get one of these OTP bots. So are cyber criminals, building these bots to sell to other cyber criminals?
This is going into one of the things that we've been talking about last week, and you and I talk about all the time, is cybercrime as a service. You need to realize, and this is what's really the important takeaway for 22 and 23. The attackers, the criminals themselves, are not sophisticated. The sophistication now is in the platform, the service that's being offered to criminals. Most criminals don't know what to do with bots, but they don't have to know, because products and services are being developed that are very user-friendly, that do everything for the criminal. They just need to go ahead and pay the money, pay the service fee or the subscription fee, and hey, we deliver a product and service to you that you don't really have to understand the dynamics or anything else. We walk you through using YouTube videos, step by step. It's done for you. The only thing you need to do is pay the service fee.
Yeah, and that really does open up the floodgates for a lot more people committing fraud. We've already got a labor shortage around
Right.
cybersecurity. So the cybersecurity pros are already outnumbered, and now technology is being used to, make it even more difficult to protect, companies and consumers online. So that's OTP bots, and so those are, those can be easily secured, in the dark web. And then we
Right.
were also going to talk a little bit about the Genesis marketplace. So tell us what's going on there.
Well, again, I just said most criminals have no idea how to run a bot network, how to build a bot, what to do with a bot, or anything else like that. That is 98 to 99% of the cyber criminals that are out there. And again, we're seeing cybercrime vendors continue to develop products and services that target that 98 to 99% of unsophisticated attackers. Genesis Marketplace is one of these products, one of these marketplaces that target unsophisticated attackers. Genesis Market Genesis Marketplace is a bot marketplace. Genesis,
Did you hear that?
I did hear that. That are you by an airport?
That's the sound of freedom.
I was like, I can't keep talking. I'm going to have to pause for a second.
Yeah, so the I guess the Marine Corps Air Station, they are doing their routine, I guess, coming right over my house today.
Well, I
Sorry
respect
about
their
that.
service and I thank them for their service. I'm going to continue on before the
Absolutely.
next one flies over. Genesis Marketplace, it's a bot marketplace. 400 or almost 450,000 bots are currently listed on this marketplace. Each bot sells for anywhere from $3.75 up to around $400. The bot sits on someone's network. Now, how does it sit on someone's network? Well, you've got these nifty statistics that are out there. 90% plus of every single attack uses known exploits. 41% of every single router has a default password. These types of statistics mean an open threat landscape. Genesis takes advantage of that. 400,000 bots sits on people's networks. It captures the cookie, the browser fingerprint, and the credentials that are needed to go in and for an attacker to come in, take over that specific account. Genesis also has a very good search feature. So if you're looking for a specific bank, a fintech company, a merchant retailer, what have you, you can search for it and it will deliver to you the bots that have those credentials, that are capturing those types of credentials. You buy it, it delivers all this to you, and because Genesis, the vendors know that most attackers are not sophisticated, Genesis automates that for you. It has a standalone browser or a browser plugin that does all that for you, does the cookie injection, everything else, so that it comes in, bypasses any type of multi-factor authentication that website might have. And the interesting thing, we didn't mention that at the beginning, but multi-factor, a high adoption rate is about 12%.
Yeah,
And
that does
that's
not
unfortunate.
sound very high to me.
It's
But
not.
it's because of the friction. Consumers just don't like friction, and
I mean,
MFA is
it's
all about
true.
friction.
We I hate friction. I do. But we have to get to the point where we're understanding that multi-factor is one of these things that we need to put in, but also understanding that multi-factor is not a silver bullet. It's simply a tool, a very good tool that when used with others becomes very effective. And we also need to understand that, hey, you need vendors out there that are good about mitigating the bots that are going on, the malicious bots that are online right now.
Yeah, and I tell you, the bots have just gotten so sophisticated. And so it really requires, companies to work with a vendor
Right.
whose solution, is constantly evolving, and anticipating what attacks could turn into, and
Right.
then the vendor, that product evolves ahead of where the attacks are coming from. So that's really important. And then also, really being able to deploy instantly, a solution. You can't sit around and wait for something to work for
Well,
3
you
to 4
can't.
months.
When
It's got
you're
to be,
waiting, you're taking a reactive stance on
right.
security. And the problem with that is you've got a couple of new products that are out there on the criminal side. You've got Evil Proxy, and now you've got Caffeine. So Evil Proxy is a reverse proxy attack. It's a man-in-the-middle attack. It actually, you pay anywhere from $150 to $400 for that monthly service, depending on how many days of the month you want to use it. It it populates from the actual website itself. So if you're trying to hit a merchant or a retailer, it actually pulls the page from that. And then as you go to log in, it captures the cookie, or it captures the cookie from multi-factor authentication, and then you can inject the cookie into your browser, bypass any MFA that's there. That's what Evil Proxy does. Caffeine is even more user friendly than that. Caffeine is a phishing site. It's a phishing attack is what it is. But they're now developing Caffeine where it actually captures the cookies as well. So these days, what you're looking at with these attacks are attacks that, hey, we're not really worried so much anymore about the credentials, about capturing credentials. What we're wanting that cookie, because once we have that cookie, we can go inside as an attacker, take over everything, look real, and do whatever we want to with that account. And it's very difficult to defend against that. You're certainly, if you've not already got something in place that's looking to defeat those types of attacks, you're going to be eaten alive, because this is where every single attack is going right now.
Yeah. And I tell you, it's so important to share this kind of information, right? To really understand where the fraudsters, where the adversary is moving, right? So that companies can be proactive, right? And defend their at the login, and defend at registration or sign
Right.
up, and and to be able to anticipate what's coming next.
The problem with this, Gene, is that you take evil proxy, you take caffeine. Right now, they're not ubiquitous. This is just on the cutting edge of these attacks that are going on. For example, evil proxy, we only used to see those reverse proxy attacks at a nation state level. Now we're seeing it at a financial cybercrime level. So the times are changing. And while these attacks are new, they're not targeting, a lot of companies have not seen evil proxy in play. They've not seen caffeine in play yet, but it's coming. This sets the tone of how cybercrime environments are going to be operating over the next year. So while you may not have seen it hit your system yet, it's going to be hitting your system. And if you're not preparing for that, it's going to eat you and your customers alive. And as we know, trust is what matters. And once your company's hit, once a customer suffers an attack, they don't really look at the attacker. They look at the company and they're like, the company didn't protect me. The company didn't do what they needed to do. And they tell every single person that will listen to them that the company was at fault. Because at the end of the day, trust is earned in droplets, but it
Yeah.
is lost in buckets.
Yeah, I love that. I love that saying, right? Because it does come down to trust, and, having that consumer trust, because that's, you're growing your business, right? And so you've got to have that consumer trust. You lose that, and there are real business implications to that.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're just about at time, Brett. Is there anything else you want to mention or wrap up, especially around these reverse proxy attacks and sort of the future, the short-term future, near-term future that you're seeing?
Sure. So right now with evil proxy, this idea of that attackers are capturing cookies. Evil proxy is a very good system. It's taken over 2 years for those developers to get evil proxy to where it is now. They're only looking at 15 different targets on evil proxy, but they're looking to make it more customized. And that's what we're seeing with caffeine at the same time. We're getting to the point where attackers are going to say, we're going to deliver a product to you to where any target that you want, any company that you want to hit, it will deliver this type of service to you. And I expect we're going to get to that within the next 6 to 8 months. So we need to be looking at that. We need to be preparing for that. Merchants, retailers, fintechs, financial institutions, everyone, if you've not got a system in place to defend against these types of attacks, you need to get it in place as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, so anything like a reverse proxy attack that can bypass MFA,
Right.
companies really need to be looking at solutions right now and getting those in place.
Absolutely.
All right, that's really good advice. Thank you. So this is, our second week in Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We've got 2 more weeks to go, Brett.
All right.
So I will see you next Thursday, and we're going to be talking about refund fraud and what's new in that arena.
Oh, there is some new stuff in that. It's going to be a fun episode. Well,
Okay.
kind of fun. We'll see.
All right. All right. Have a great presentation tomorrow. And thank you so much. That's Brett Johnson. He's the Chief Criminal Officer of Arkose Labs. And I'm Jean Creech with Arkose Labs. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.